More grim news, although, of course, nothing on the scale of someone been losing their life in that shooting, but around 800 jobs likely to go, 162 branches to be closed with the RBS. Interestingly, they'll have just 105 branches left in England and Wales. Joining me to discuss some more is Jonathan Davis, who's an economist and wealth advisor. Now, initially one might read this and think, oh my goodness, the bank is in enormous trouble, but actually it is part of a managed plan and also turning brands back to original names north and south of the border, is it not? Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning. Well, it's all about technology and our use of banking services. Fact is, most people don't go into bank branches these days, so it's costly to have a service that people aren't using much.
Some politicians, and I would argue they have a point, though, are saying in some instances, not in all, these are almost like hubs of the community, their focuses, and it's difficult for elderly people, vulnerable people, those with mobility issues, to get out of their towns or villages to get to another bank.
As I say, we use online banking far more now, and we will do so in the future.
Yeah, but not a little old lady living in wherever, I don't know, in Herefordshire or whatever she might be. I appreciate it's not your decisions, but nobody ever seems to care about these folk.
Banks are not charities. They're there to make money. People forget this. There are other ways of having hubs in villages and communities. I would say there are two big issues here. One, which I suspect you will not want to discuss, is that they shouldn't have bailed out the banks in the first place. Then we would have been having an entirely different discussion about...
But then that little old lady would have lost her life savings, of course, Jonathan.
That's absolute nonsense. Secondly...
what if the bank had folded, where would her money have gone?
Banks did fold. The Abbey National did fold, and Santander took over, and they put bad debts into bad banks, and deposits could easily have been saved.
Were there people forming an orderly queue to buy the RBS then, as you recall?
Sorry, say that again?
Was there an orderly queue of folk wanting to buy RBS all those years ago?
We shouldn't have bailed RBS out.
No, I hear you, but were there people ready to buy it?
At a much lower price. There would have been 100 companies willing to buy it at a much lower price.
Right, and what would have happened to people's savings?
Technology. The second issue is technology, Nick. We're talking here about bank branches being closed. This is just an ongoing state of affairs where technology is changing our world. And you talk about 800 job losses. There are going to be, I'm afraid to say, millions and millions of job losses right across the piece, not just banking, of course. And that's the bigger issue that I don't see anyone talking about, and it's an absolutely huge issue, of course.
All right, Jonathan Davis, thank you, economist and wealth advisor. Thank you for your input. Coming up.